You're now tuned in to Let's Talk with Lady Blend on Intermix Radio.
Good evening, everyone, and happy Friday. Welcome to another Let's Talk with Lady Blend. I am Lady Blend, and I thank you so much for tuning in. Just to get a couple of housekeeping things out of the way. First off, you can now download the app on your phone, Android and iPhone. Also, you can find other podcasts such as this one tonight on our YouTube channel. You can find it on our website, www.intermixradio.com. You can also find them on all social media outlets. And one of the other important things is our phone number for you to call in with your comments or your questions is 305-898-0271. Let me give you that number one more time, 305-898-0271. Thank you again for tuning in. So I have a question. We're going to jump right in. I have a question. Have you ever set a New Year's Eve resolution, a New Year's Eve goal? And I know many of us have done it. We've set those New Year's Eve goals only to find out sometimes 2 weeks into January, sometimes the end of January. Some people may go into February and so forth and so on, but those goals are either forgotten about, dropped off, left by the wayside, and we kind of forget about them, and maybe we determine to pick them up later on in the year, or it becomes our next year's New Year's resolution. Well, you may have set some goals, and you may have had ambitions about achieving those goals and making those goals very personal to you. So today's topic for tonight is goal setting. And if I had to put a subtopic on it, it would be focusing on achieving those goals. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about is a little bit of statistics. So, of course, I do my research. So let me tell you, studies show that the average time people abide by New Year's resolutions is less than 4 months. You heard it, less than 4 months. Wait, there's more. Studies also show that 80% are abandoned by February. And even more, 88% are abandoned by the end of January. So that brings us to about 36% of the people who abide by their New Year's resolutions. 36 after a month. And then only 6% actually go past the year with those New Year's resolutions. So I said all that to say that if you are someone who sets goals, sets New Year's resolutions, that you are not alone if you have left them by the wayside. So today's topic about goal setting and achieving your goals is going to help all of us in that process. Now, there is a goal setting. Let's just start there. So goal setting is personal. It has to do with your personal growth and your development. And so doing so provides direction and purpose in our lives. So when we have things to look forward to, when we're constantly setting goals, when we're constantly doing things to improve upon our own personal condition, and improving our own personal condition also improves others' conditions around us as well. Now, studies have shown that goal setting positively impacts neuroplasticity. Okay, what is neuroplasticity? I'm sure some of you already know what that is, but let me just break it down for you. It is the brain's ability to adapt and reorganize by forming new neural connections and pathways in response to new experiences. So basically what that means is the brain learns how to adapt. When you make a decision that you're going to take on a new task, as soon as you start going into that direction and implementing what you and thinking about what you want to do, your brain starts to get into action. It starts to organize your thoughts for you to try to help you kind of get some direction on what you're doing and how you want to do it. So essentially, goal setting helps us train our minds to envision what we want. And that's basically what a goal is. A goal is something that you want. And so in order for you to get that, there are things that you have to do. So you do have to train your mind so you can imagine and you can envision what you want. And so in turn, the brain rewires itself to accommodate this new self-image, which makes it easier for you to modify your behaviors to achieve your goals. And we know that with change comes when you start to think differently. When you think differently, or when you're trying to do something differently or achieve something new, you do have to develop new behaviors. And so your brain has to rewire to get ready for that experience that you're thinking about doing, that you're on that path to do. So it trains it, and then those new behaviors can come into fruition. So whether it's a short-term goal, whether you want to train to run a 5K or 10K, or whether it's a long-term goal, or you want to go back to school, you want to get an advanced degree, whatever that is, you're setting a goal that creates a roadmap for self-improvement. Now, it may be fun for you to establish a new target and a new goal, but reaching that desired result takes dedication, it takes perseverance, and it takes determination. Now, it does not mean that along the way that you will run into some obstacles, but those obstacles should not stop you. They may redirect you, but they should not stop you. So using and setting those goals and using that roadmap for your improvement, and using and having that determination, as I said before, the perseverance and the dedication, even in the midst of any setbacks or obstacles. Now, there have been a lot of studies, psychologists and professors have also said, and you've probably heard it in corporate America, government, in any place really, they're called SMART goals. And in this instance, SMART is an acronym. Okay, so the S stands for specific. So your goal needs to be specific. The M in SMART means measurable. So if you learned anything in school, you know that anytime you set a goal or you do anything, it has to be measurable. You have to be able to measure it. Otherwise, how can you tell when you're progressing and moving forward? The A, achievable. It must be achievable. There are some goals that you might not be able to achieve. So you need to set a goal that is achievable. The R in SMART is relevant. Is it relevant to you? Because you don't want to set a goal that really doesn't mean anything to you, because then you're not going to be into it, basically. You're not going to be dedicated to it. So you need to set something that means something to you, that is relevant to you. And the T in SMART is time bound. Time bound. Meaning, if you set a goal, you need to set a specific time. And you can do a timeline. You can say, okay, I want to accomplish this goal in 2 years. So you may say in the first 3 months, I may take that time to kind of outline everything, do my research, figure out everything about that specific thing that I'm trying to do. You may take the next 3 months, from the research that you've done, gathering any tools or anything that you need. Those tools could be books, it could be magazines, it could be anything. And then so forth and so on. But in that 2-year mark, you want to have achieved that goal. So you want to put yourself on some kind of timeline, and then along the way, if you do it in intervals like that, you can say, okay, the first 3 months, I've achieved that. That is an achievement. That is something for you to celebrate. You say, I've achieved that. I've done my research. This is exactly what I want to do. You know, not, you can have course corrections, but you're saying that this is what I want to do. And the next is you've done your research, and then at that next point or that next interval, you're on your way to achieving that goal. Time bound, so that's important. So again, SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Now we're going to take a little break, and when I come back, I'm going to give you some principles of goal setting.
You're now tuned in to Let's Talk with Lady Blend on Intermix Radio.
Hello everyone, and welcome back. Again, I am Lady Blend, and you are listening to Let's Talk on Intermix Radio. So right before the break, I just gave you a little bit of information about goal setting. We talked about the best way to set goals is to use the SMART acronym, which I'll go over again. SMART being specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And now we're going to talk about some principles of goal setting. So now there was a professor, 2 professors as a matter of fact, who came up with these 5 principles. Their names are Edwin A. Locke and Gary Latham, and they created 5 principles for goal setting. Those principles are clarity, challenge, commitment, feedback, and task complexity. So I'll say that again. The 5 principles are clarity, challenge, commitment, feedback, and task complexity. So these are the principles that you need to look at and you need to focus on in your goal setting process. So let's talk about the first one, clarity. So we know what clarity means. Make it clear, make it plain. So your goal should be clear and specific. Clear, a well-defined goal is more achievable than a vague one. So let's give an example of a clarified goal. For example, I want to lose 20 pounds in 6 months. I'm going to do that by changing my eating habits, making sure I get enough sleep, making sure I drink enough water, and I'm going to cut out my sweets. More importantly on that is I am going to exercise. I exercise, but I'm going to increase my exercise. So I am going to exercise 4 times a week. So I have clarified my goal, and that goal is achievable. To lose 20 pounds in 6 months, it's achievable. What is a vague goal? A vague goal is I want to get my master's degree. That's a vague goal because you haven't said what master's you want to get your master's degree in what. It doesn't follow the SMART acronym. It's not very specific. It's not time bound. It's not very clear. Let me make sure I look at my notes now. It's not very clear. It may be somewhat relevant, but not really, because you're not saying what you want to get your master's degree in. So is it relevant to you? No, not really. It's not. And it's definitely not time bound. So when you make those goals, when you set those goals, they need to be clear. You need to clarify them. There needs to be some clarity. And there is another example. Instead of saying, I want to improve my sales, that's very vague because you're not saying how. And that's the next question. And you may even ask why. Why do you want to improve your sales? So there has to be something that's relevant in there. So a clearer goal would be, I want to increase my sales by 20% in the next quarter. So that's specific. So I'm telling you when I want to do it. It's time bound and it is specific and it is relevant. So this clarity helps individuals. It helps you to understand exactly what is expected and how success will be measured. Because I told you that I want to increase it by 20%. So that's how my success would be measured, 20%. In my example of me wanting to lose weight, I said, I want to measure that. I want to lose 20 pounds. I didn't say I want to lose weight in 6 months. I said I want to lose 20 pounds in 6 months. And so that's how I can measure. So after 6 months, I can look, and even along the way, I can tell whether or not I'm on that goal. And even with the example of the sales, you can tell whether or not you're on that goal. So let's make sure that our goals are clear and specific, which means you have to put some thought into it. Put some thought into it. The next principle is challenge. Okay? Goals should be challenging yet attainable. Because we know, we've heard the saying, there's old saying, if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. So goals should be challenging yet attainable. A goal that is too easy may not motivate you. It may not motivate you. If it's too easy, it may not motivate, because what happens? If something is too easy for you to do, and it for anything, if it's too easy for you to do, what do? You put it off. Oh, it's not going to take me long to do that. I can do that in 15 minutes. That's all. Or I can do that in an hour. Or it only take me a day to get that done. So it's nothing for me to be, no urgency there. I don't really have a real motivation to get it done. So if it's too easy, you're going to put it off. And it's a possibility that you don't get it done at all. So if they're too easy, they don't motivate you. While one that is if it's too difficult, it can lead you to frustration. So you want to make something so hard that you keep trying to do it and keep trying to do it, and you fail and you fail and you keep trying to do it, and then you get frustrated, and then also the end result is you don't get it done. So, but what we want to do, the right level of challenge encourages individuals to stretch their abilities and enhance their engagement and motivation. So if you get the right goal, the right one, it will encourage you and it will strengthen your abilities, because if it's the right goal, you will do what you need to do to get it done. If it takes extra work, a little bit more work on your part, because that is the challenge. It takes a little bit extra work on your part, but then you feel it is worth it. And it like again, if it doesn't challenge you, it will not change you. So you need to be encouraged. It needs to be something that keeps you engaged in it. Not so easy that you just keep putting it off. Not so hard that you get frustrated and just give up. So clarity and challenge. The third one is commitment. And that's a big one. Because anytime you set a goal, along with being clear and specific, and it being a challenge, you have to be committed to completing that task. There has to be a level of commitment, because if there is no level of commitment, you're not going to complete the task. You must be committed to that goal. When you set goals for yourselves, or when you receive them from others, your commitment to achieving the goal is crucial. It's a crucial part of your goal setting process, that commitment to achieving that goal. That commitment fosters accountability and a focused effort towards meeting that goal. And we know accountability is very important. And you can have other people to hold you accountable. You can tell other people about it and they can hold you accountable, such as even running the 10K. If that's a goal of yours, a short-term goal of yours, that 10K, you can tell a friend, maybe you and that other person, maybe that you train with that person. Maybe because in order to do something like that, if you've never done it before, you definitely have to do some level of training to work up to being able to do it. So that other person can hold you accountable. And then if it's not another person, you can hold yourself accountable. Write it down. That's another important thing. If you have a goal in mind, write it down. Write it down. Write all those steps down. Be specific. Write it down. And so you can hold yourself accountable every day, because every day you put that somewhere where you can see it and you can read it every day. And that is how you hold yourself accountable. And that also helps you to stay focused. Stay focused on the end goal. You have to start with the end in mind. So you know where you want to go. So that's how you have to start, with the end in mind. Okay, so we're going to take another break and we'll come back and I'm going to give you the last two principles of goal setting. We'll be right back. Hello and welcome back. Again, I am Lady Bland and you're listening to Let's Talk on Intermix Radio. Our topic for today is goal setting, with a subtopic of focusing on achieving your goals. Before we went to the break, we were talking about principles, 5 principles of goal setting, and 2 professors, one professor by the name of Edwin Locke and the other Gary Latham, they created these 5 principles of goal setting. So we talked about the first 3, and they were clarity, which means being clear and specific. We talked about challenge. We want to make sure that the goals that you set are attainable, that they are challenging to you, they are attainable, that they're not too easy, and that they're not too difficult. We want to make sure that they are just right, so it is something that you can actually achieve. The other one we talked about, the third principle, is commitment. Anytime you set a goal, you have to be committed to achieving that goal, committed to doing the work, committed to doing the research, committed, again, having the end in mind in the beginning, so you know exactly where you want to go. So that commitment is very crucial to you achieving your goal. Now the fourth principle is feedback. Regular feedback is essential for goal achievement. So what do I mean by that? So whether that is feedback from individuals, whether it's feedback that you give yourself, because remember, you are tracking what you're doing. You're tracking what you're doing. You have written those goals down. You're looking at them. You're looking at them every day, so that you can hold yourself accountable for what it is that you've said that you're going to do. And so feedback helps you to understand your progress and to make the necessary adjustments. And remember, we talked about at the top of the hour, you may run into obstacles. You may run into some issues or something, but those obstacles should not stop you. It could be that maybe the goal that you set, maybe the plan that you made, and in your implementation, it could be you find that maybe I need to do this, or maybe I need to do that, or that's just really not working. This seems to be working better. That's a course correction, just a little bit of a course correction, and maybe a little small modification. And so that feedback also After you look and you review what you're doing, whether you're looking at it yourself or you're having someone else to kind of take a look at and review it, then it also helps you to make those necessary adjustments. It doesn't mean you're abandoning anything. It just means that you are making the necessary adjustments to keep moving forward, because that's what you want to do. Continue to move forward. It also reinforces your motivation and provides opportunities for learning and improvement throughout the goal setting process. So what I want to say about that is, it may not be a sprint. Everything's not a sprint. If you have a short-term goal, then it may be more sprintish. I made that up. It may be more sprintish. But if you have a long-term goal, you know that there is that dedication, there's that commitment that you have to stay the course. No matter what happens, you have to stay the course. Even if you have the course correct, it does not mean that you're abandoning, because remember what you've done in the very beginning. You have done your homework. You have been made clear and specific goals. You've done your research, you've done your homework, you've made a plan, and now you're in the process of implementing that plan. You have a challenge that you have determined is achievable. You have that commitment, and you have now the feedback, so that if you have to make any adjustments, that you can make those adjustments along and continue to progress forward. Now, the fifth principle is task complexity. Consider the complexity of the task involved in achieving your goal. Goals should be set with an understanding of the complexity of the task required. So we need to know, once we set those goals, we need to understand how complex it can be. How much time is it going to take out of your daily routine? Those are all the types of things that you have to consider. You work every day, you already have other responsibilities, and you're adding something else on. So you have to decide and understand how much more of this is it going to take. And now, goal setting and achieving something different, it does take sacrifice. So you have to be willing to make that sacrifice, and that is where your determination comes in. That is where your commitment comes in. And so you have to be determined, you have to be committed, and you have to be willing to make that sacrifice. If I have to take where during my time, maybe in a day, I have a few hours that I just have to myself where I've decided that I'm not doing anything. Well, now that you have decided that you're going to take on this new goal, that you have set this new goal, you have to decide how much of my me time or that personal time where I just didn't really have anything to do, am I going to commit to achieving this task? How much of this time every day am I going to put into it? Because if you're not willing to make that commitment, if you're not willing to understand and do the requirements of that task, of that goal setting, then it's still not going to work. So again, make sure when you first start out in your planning time of that goal setting, that you also determine how much of your time is going to take, considering everything that you have. That will also determine your time bound, your SMART goal, your time bound. How much time are you going to be able to put into it realistically? Now, you need to push yourself. Don't be lax. Push yourself some, but be realistic about how much time it's going to take you to achieve that goal. If a goal involves complex tasks, it may be beneficial to break it down into smaller things so you can make it more manageable to avoid overwhelming yourselves. Now, in doing that, it would be good. The best thing to do with that is at the very beginning. When you start to clarify that goal, to be specific, you know the big picture. You know how much time you have. You know how much time you're willing to give. You know how much time you're willing to push yourself into doing something. Then you decide these small things, and we know that small things, that small progress, You have to measure all of that. We measure every bit because we want to make sure that we are moving forward. Remember, we want to make SMART goals. We want to make them specific. We want to make them measurable. We want to make them achievable. We want to make them relevant. And we want to make sure that they are time bound. So in starting your goal setting process, put thought into what is it that I really want to do. And I know that it's during this time, it's the holiday season, and everyone's getting ready for the holidays, and they're thinking about, oh man, last year I said I was going to do X, and I didn't do it. The year before I said I was going to do Y, and I didn't do it. You know, this time I'm really going to do it. I'm really going to do it. Okay, so I'm going to encourage you that now is the time. Now is the time to decide. If you are that person who decides that you want to make a New Year's resolution, then this is the time that you should be thinking about what that is. If you want to achieve something, if you are doing the process of goal setting, and really we should all be doing some goal setting. It doesn't matter whether you want to do a New Year's resolution or anything. You should always try to be doing goal setting. Goal setting, because that's what helps to improve you. To improve you as an individual. And like I said before, if you improve yourself, you can also help to improve others around you. You improve yourself, you improve your condition, which can in turn improve the condition of others around you. So you should be looking for ways, and it doesn't have to be anything just grandiose. It could be anything. Things sometimes that you always wanted to do. You know, sometimes like myself, and this is one of the things that I want to do. So I'm going to share this. So I call myself a mixologist, and people who know me, they call me that too. It's some kind of way. It has something to do with the cooking and everything. I just know flavors that go together, things that go together, drinks that go together, that mix together. So I always said, well, I want to be a bartender. And I've said, I'll go to bartender school. Now, my goal was not a SMART goal, I can tell you that, because I just said I want to go to bartender school or I want to be a bartender. But I didn't say when I want to do it. I didn't do any time on it or anything. So that's one of the things I want to do. So it can be something, and I say as simple as, not to minimize that, but it could be something like that. It could be that you might want to just get healthier. And I know we are always we're on a health kick, and the first thing that we think about, oh man, I need to lose weight. I want to encourage you. I know people, we need to lose weight. You need to lose weight, you need to lose weight. If your doctor tells you that, that's what you should do. Yeah. I encourage everyone to be healthy. Be healthy. If being healthy means that you need to lose weight, then do that. Do whatever it is that you need to do to make yourself healthy. Do what you need to do to make yourself feel good about yourself. So it could be any goal, anything that you want to set for yourself. It doesn't have to be something huge, but whatever that is, make sure that it is a SMART goal, because the last thing you want to do is get frustrated about it and then abandon it. We don't want to be one of those statistics that I read to you, and I'm going to read them again, because after I did my research and I was looking at them, I said, wow, that is just very interesting. And once again, the average of people who abide by their New Year's resolution, the average time is less than 4 months. 80% of the people who set New Year's resolutions have abandoned them by February. Y'all know January is the first month of the year now. So they were abandoned by February. And 88% of the people who set New Year's resolutions have abandoned them by the end of the month. We don't want to be involved in that statistic. You don't want to be involved in that statistic. So let's just make sure that the goals that we set, we're going to call it goal setting. We're not going to call it New Year's resolutions, because this is something, goal setting is something that you want to do to improve yourself. It's about self-improvement. And make sure, again, that it's relevant, because being a SMART goal, remember, it has to be something that is relevant to you. So do something, set a goal, that is geared toward your self-improvement. And if you want to wait until New Year's and do that, you can wait until New Year's and do it. Or you can start now. But whatever it is that you do, make sure that it is a SMART goal. Make sure that you follow those 5 principles of clarity, challenge, commitment, feedback, and task complexity. Now, I have a couple of quotes, and some of the people who made these quotes are famous. So if you are embarking on a new aspiration or you're already on your way to accomplishing a major milestone, I have a couple of powerful quotes that I want to give you, just thought-provoking along, and it does go and it's very relevant to your goal setting process. I'm going to take another break, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to go over some of the quotes. That number again for you to call in is 305-898-0271. We'll be right back.
You're now tuned in to Let's Talk with Lady Blend on Intermix Radio.
Hello and welcome back. Again, you are listening to Let's Talk with Lady Blend. I am Lady Blend, and our topic for today is goal setting with a subtopic on focusing on achieving your goals. So we talked about the types of goals that we should set and how they should be set. They should be SMART goals. We talked about how SMART is an acronym, and the S stands for specific, the M is measurable, the A is achievable, the R is relevant, and the T is time bound. And then we also talked about in your goal setting process that you should use these 5 principles. Those 5 principles are your goals. There should be some clarity in your goals. They should be specific and they should be clear. Your goals should be challenging, not too easy, and it should not be too difficult, but it should be just right. It should be challenging enough so that it encourages you to stretch your abilities, to enhance and the engagement and be motivating for you. You should definitely have a commitment. Number 3 is commitment. You must have a commitment to achieving those goals, that whatever goals that you set, you must have a commitment. That is very, very, very crucial, that you are committed to achieving your goal. You should start with the end in mind. And I keep saying that because it's important. That means that you're going back and you're looking at, here is what I want to achieve. And then you can look at all the steps along the way, and then you can review your process, right? And you can look at your progress. So it is very important for you to begin with the end in mind. Feedback is the 4th principle. That feedback can come from you. That feedback can come from someone else who is holding you accountable, but whether it be yourself or someone else, you need to be accountable for what you are doing, which means that it needs to be something that's important to you. It needs to be something that is relevant to you in order for it to have an opportunities for you to learn something new and improve on that goal setting process. Because it's not, like I said, there are some things that may be, I would say, sprintish, like I said, I made up another word, sprintish, or it could be something that is long term, right? But whatever it is, there is a process that is involved in that. And then task complexity. It must be complex enough so it can be worthwhile for you to even do, but not too complex. If it is very complex, sometimes it's a part of your goal setting. And so what you can do is kind of chop it down into small pieces. Chop it into small pieces, and then with those pieces, once you achieve that part of it, then hey, you celebrate your accomplishment. Celebrate along the way. You don't have to wait until you get to the end to celebrate. You celebrate along the way. Whatever pieces that you've done, whatever things you have accomplished, make sure that you celebrate those along the way. So I told you that I'm going to share some quotes with you. And these quotes are centered around setting goals for yourself. The first quote is from Jill Koning. And Jill says, your goals must be at the forefront of your day, not an afterthought. And that goes back to the principle. You must be committed to that goal. You have to be committed to that goal. You must write it down. I say, if you write it down, I'm a big proponent of writing it down. Write it down, look at it, put it someplace where you can see it on a daily basis so you can remind yourself all the time, this is what I'm working towards. You know, this is what I have achieved. And even in this time of electronic, if you want to put it, putting it on your computer, yeah, you can put it on your computer. But I guarantee you, if you write it down in your own handwriting, and you're looking at it on a daily basis, this is what I'm trying to achieve. This is my goal. Remember, beginning with the end in mind, keeping it in mind. It'll be more relevant to you in your own handwriting rather than typed. The next quote is by Bill Watterson. Bill says, we define ourselves by our actions. I'm going to say that one more time. We define ourselves by our actions. With each decision, we tell ourselves and the world who we are. Think about what you want out of this life and recognize that there are many kinds of success. And that is so true because you are defined by your actions. You can say whatever you want to say. Do you walk like you talk? Because if you don't walk like you talk, what you're saying is just noise. So if you are defined, we are defined by what we do, not by what we say. And yes, success looks different. Success for me looks different than success for you would look like. So just because I'm doing something and maybe this is how I define success, you might not define success that way. So you can't compare yourself to someone else in terms of who's successful and who's not. The next one is by James Clear. James Clear says, fall in love with boredom. Fall in love with repetition and practice. Fall in love with the process of what you do and let the results take care of themselves. So basically what he's saying is be committed. We go back to those principles. Be committed to what you want to do. Repetition, we know practice makes perfect. It doesn't make perfect. But repetition does make progress. You can progress. If you continue to do something, you get better and better at it. The more you do it, the better at it you get. So that commitment along the way helps. That challenge along the way helps. That feedback along the way helps. The next one I want to share with you is by Oprah Winfrey. And she says, the key to realizing a dream is to focus not on success, but significance. And then even the small steps and little victories along your path will take on greater meaning. Say that one more time. The key to realizing a dream is to focus not on success, but significance. And then even the small steps and little victories along your path will take on greater meaning. So I take that to mean that, similar to the other quote by James Clear, where he says the results will take care of themselves. So if you focus on why you're doing something, you're focusing, you want success, but focusing on the why. Why are you doing it? Why is this significant? And that goes back to your goals, the SMART goals. It must be relevant. Focus on the relevancy, the significance of that goal. and basically everything will take care of itself. You'll look at those small things, those small steps along the way, and those victories will come to you. And those things, a lot of times they mean a lot more along the way because you can see, again, your progress. Another one I want to share with you, Robert Collier. Robert Collier says, success is the sum of small efforts repeated day in and day out. So we know that there are a lot of inventors. There are a lot of inventors. We know a lot of successful people will tell you that, we're talking about actors, we're talking about entertainers, we're talking about people who, for example, the person who invented the light bulb. We know if you ask those people how many times did they try to do what they were trying to do, and they will tell you, I cannot count how many times. How many times I failed. But does it really matter how many times you fail once you succeed, right? Once you succeed in that thing that you're trying to do. So it is the sum of small efforts along the way, and you have to continue to do them, continue to move forward, continue to do them day by day, being committed to doing them day by day. That is your success. That's where your success comes in. Another one is Alexander Graham Bell. I just talked about him. Concentrate all your thoughts upon the work in hand. The sun rays do not burn until they are brought to a focus. That's kind of deep. Concentrate all your thoughts upon the work in hand. The sun's rays do not burn until they are brought to a focus. That's just quiet. Marinate on that. All right. I'm going to give you one more. And this one is, I'm going to give you two more. Bill Bradley. Bill Bradley says, ambition is the path to success. Persistence is the vehicle you arrive in. And I really like that one. That's one I put up on my wall. Ambition is the path to success. Persistence is the vehicle you arrive in. And that kind of goes back to repeating it day in and day out. So another quote that I just read you, repeating it day in and day out, that's bringing you success. So yes, your ambition is your path to success. But how are you going to get there? You're going to get there by being persistent, by being focused, by being committed. Chris Hadfield says, there's really just one thing I can control. My attitude during the journey, which is what keeps me feeling steady and stable and what keeps me headed in the right direction. One more time. There's really just one thing I can control. My attitude during the journey, which is what keeps me feeling steady and stable and what keeps me headed in the right direction. And we've talked about that. We do understand that there are a lot of things that we cannot control, but we can control how we respond to them, and we can control our attitude towards them. So when you are goal setting, again, you have to do your part in it. You have to do your part. You have to put in the work. You have to be, once again, you have to have, your goals must be smart. You have to be specific. They have to be measurable. They have to be achievable. They have to be relevant. They have to be time bound. And then you want to follow those 5 principles of goal setting. Clarity, challenge, commitment, feedback, task complexity. So we must look at all of those things while we are goal setting. While we're goal setting. So make sure that the things that you choose whether it be a New Year's resolution, whether you switch from that resolution like I'm encouraging you to do, switch from making New Year's resolutions to saying, this is just another path or another journey on my self-improvement, Whatever that goal is that you set, make sure that you are setting those goals. Make sure you are doing your research. Make sure that they are relevant. Make sure that they are SMART goals and you're using those principles. And I am sure that whatever it is that you set your mind to do, that you'll be able to achieve it. We're going to take a little break, and then this was kind of my wrap up, but we're going to do a little wrap up, and then my time will be up. 305-898-0271.
You're now tuned in to Let's Talk with Lady Blend on Intermix Radio.
Welcome back, and thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk with Lady Blend. Again, our topic for today is goal setting with a subtopic of focusing on achieving your goal. So we talked about the best ways and the most effective ways of achieving goals, of goal setting, I should say, and making sure that those goal setting is vital for personal growth and development. It provides you direction and purpose in your lives. Studies again show that goal setting positively impacts neuroplasticity. And that's just a big word for saying your brain's adapting to new experiences and new things. So when you decide that you're going to do something new, when you decide that you want to have a new experience, and once you start that whole process, your brain kind of, we say reinvent, but it adapts itself to what you are trying to do. So whether it's a short-term objective or whether it's something that's long-term, you can use the same SMART goals process. Same process. You can use the same 5 principles of goal setting, no matter what your goal is. But I encourage you to make sure that you do have a goal, to make sure that you're doing something for your self-improvement. When you set those goals, once again, begin with the end in mind. I encourage you, because it's what I do and it works for me, I encourage you to write it down. Put it somewhere where you can see it on a daily basis. Make sure you're going back and you're looking. Once you write it down, or whether you type it up and put it on the computer, write the goal down, though. I encourage you to write it down. If you want to put your steps and everything on a computer, you want to type it up or something like that, that's fine. You can do that. But make sure that you are reviewing it on a daily basis, that you are looking at them, that you are measuring, that those goals are measurable, that you can look at them and say, hey, I am progressing forward in my goal. Remember, there will be obstacles. There may be some things that might try to stop you or derail you along the way, but don't let that stop you from achieving your goal. It might cause you to course correct, but course correct does not mean that you abandon whatever it is. We do not, I repeat, we do not, ladies and gentlemen, want to be a part of these statistics that I read you today. We want to be in that percentage and grow the percentage of people who actually achieve their goals. And we're not going to even call them New Year's resolutions. We're going to call them personal improvement goals. Personal improvement goals. So we want to make sure that they are achievable, that they are attainable, that they have the right amount of complexity, that they are challenging you, and that you take some time to sit down and really think about what it is you want to achieve, how it is you want to achieve it, and what is your time frame in achieving that goal, and that it is something that's relevant to you, that it is something that's passionate for you to do, because that will also help you to stay motivated. That will also help you to stay engaged, and it will also help you to stay focused on what it is that you want to do. So I have enjoyed bringing this topic to you today, this evening. I hope you got something out of it. Um, Join me on the fourth Friday for another Let's Talk with Lady Blend. And I want you to know, coming up is DJ Blend with Feeling Free Fridays. So make sure that you stay tuned. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your Friday while you're jamming along with the beats and the sounds of DJ Blend on Intermix Radio.